Hey squad, welcome back. Now, in continuing our series on must-know music production terms, today we'll be focused on the term frequency response. You'll mainly find this term related to microphones, and I'm going to break it down so you fully understand what it's all about. Okay, now don't forget to check out the other videos in this series, which will also help you on your musical journey. And remember to check out my music as well at ducebeats.com. Anyway, for now, let's jump straight into this. Okay, so for any of you guys actually involved in recording audio in any capacity, whether you're a sound engineer or a singer-songwriter or a producer, if you're using microphones to record audio, you're going to have to understand what frequency response is, because this knowledge will make a big difference to the quality of your audio recordings. Now, the term frequency response generally refers to how microphones respond to an incoming sound and then subsequently convert that sound into an audio signal which you can then use within your music production or recording device. Now, your sound source could be a vocal, or maybe a snare drum, or maybe a bass guitar amp. Now, every microphone model you can think of will respond differently to those three sound sources. Now, the frequency response signature, curve, or pattern for each microphone will essentially tell you this information: which frequencies are ignored, which frequencies are captured, which frequencies are boosted, and which frequencies are reduced. Now, it's really important to note as well that different microphones are designed by manufacturers for different tasks or jobs. For example, the world famous Shure SM58 microphone is designed especially for capturing live vocals, whereas the SM57, which again is a world-renowned microphone, is designed particularly for capturing instrument sounds. Having said that, both microphones can still do a great job capturing a range of different sound sources. So, for example, the SM58 vocal mic can be used on a guitar amp, and the SM57 can be used for a vocalist. But each microphone has been designed to enhance the sound of the source material, so you need to bear that in mind. Okay, so let's look at some graphical representations of the frequency response curve for a few of the most popular microphones on the market, and microphones you're very likely to come in contact with when you're either recording, playing live, or engineering a live function or broadcast. Okay, so let's start off by looking at the Shure SM58 dynamic vocal mic. Now this, as I said before, it's world famous, and if you were to look at pictures or videos of performances throughout the ages, you will see this microphone being used by legends. Now, looking at the frequency response curve, you can see along here there is a nice roll-off of everything from 100 Hertz and below that has been rolled off. It's a fairly steep curve, and then from 100 Hertz onwards it's fairly flat until you get to around about 2 kilohertz, where there's a gradual boost until we get up to around 6 kilohertz. Then there's a dip around 7, and then another boost around 8.5 kilohertz, and then from 9 kilohertz onwards there's a sharp roll off as well of the high frequencies. Now, this is a very typical pattern for a vocal microphone. Audio content below 100 Hz on a vocal can generally be ignored. Most of the important information, to be honest, is in the mid and high mid frequencies. Now let's go across now to another classic. This here is the Neumann U87 vocal condenser, and this one again is in cardioid pickup pattern. Now, as you can see, there are two lines here in the graph. We've got this one down the bottom here, which represents the microphone's frequency response when the bass roll-off switch is engaged, and this line here is for normal operation. Now let's take this line first of all. As you can see, the bandwidth of this microphone starts from 20 Hz all the way up to 20 kilohertz. There's a slight dip here, 20 Hz up to 50 Hz, but then it's pretty flat all the way along until we get to around 5 kilohertz. There's a boost in gain for these frequencies, and after 10 kilohertz, there's a slight roll off and the very high end. Now, when the bass roll off switch is engaged, everything below sort of 45 Hz is filtered, and then there's a steady climb in terms of the frequency curve all the way up to 1 kilohertz. It's then fairly flat, and then there's that bump, and the rest is the same. Okay, so when you engage the bass roll off switch, you definitely filter a whole range of low end and reduce quite a lot of low and low mid frequencies. Now, the good thing about this particular microphone is that it's very versatile. It's widely used as a studio vocal microphone, but it can also be used to mic up instruments as well as amplifiers, and you would see that in different studios. But it's worth taking note of what's actually happening in terms of capturing audio. And now this one is the SM57, and again this one is a classic and is widely used for miking up instruments, especially guitar amps and snare drums. And this is the curve, again a roll off up to about 200 Hz, and then fairly flat all the way up to around 3 kilohertz, where it rises up quite sharply actually to a peak of around 6 kilohertz, and then there's a bit of adjustment and tailoring over the next range of frequencies with a sharp roll off from around 12 kilohertz and on. Now, the actual bandwidth of this microphone is from 40 Hz all the way up to 15 kilohertz, which is different to the bandwidth of the Neumann, which was from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. And again, this is something that you need to bear in mind depending on the sort of material that you'll be recording. You've got to bear in mind the bandwidth as well as the frequency response. All right, moving along. Now, this one here is another classic. This is the frequency response for the legendary AKG C12 valve microphone, and this is in cardioid pickup pattern. Now, as you can see, the bandwidth of this particular mic is from around 30 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz or 20 kilohertz. And you can see it's pretty flat all the way along. There's a slight dip around 2 kilohertz, and then it rises up again around that sort of range to enhance the vocals. And around this zone, around 8 kilohertz, 8 to 9 kilohertz, there's a nice bump there. And then there's a smooth roll off from about 10 kilohertz through to 20 kilohertz. Again, this microphone can be used for a range of things. However, it's very typically used for vocals, and the electronics in this particular mic has a very distinctive sound. That's why it's such a legend. Finally, we're looking at this chart, which is again another Shure, and it's for the Shure SM137, which is a cardioid condenser microphone, and it's well known for being a flat response microphone. Now, these are just 4 different microphones, and as you can see, they all have very different frequency response patterns, and the same will apply to whatever microphone you choose. Now, the important thing here that I must emphasize is it all depends on the type of material you are likely to record. If you're mainly going to be recording vocals, then check out the frequency response on vocal microphones, because they're going to be designed and built for that type of job. If it's going to be recording instruments, then look at microphones that are tailored for that type of job. Like I said, there are some mics that are great all-rounders, like the AKG C414 microphones. They are brilliant at all-round jobs, and there are many others out there on the market that you can check out. So hopefully this information is going to be useful to you in making your decision when buying a microphone and generally understanding what frequency response is all about. Okay, so I do hope you found the video useful, and if so, why not drop me a line in the comment section, like, share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And remember to check out my other social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook. It will also be great if you could support me on my musical journey at ducebeats.com. Now finally, like the rest of the MTTC squad, switch on your notification bell so when my next video drops, you'll find out straight away. In the meantime, you take care. I'm Dr. Duce. Peace.